Emily Carter stood in her quiet kitchen, listening to the heavy rain outside. The clock on the wall ticked toward midnight. She held a small wedding anniversary cake she had baked herself, its white frosting starting to soften under the warm lights. She had imagined Daniel walking in, smiling, maybe even saying thank you. The front door finally opened. Daniel stepped inside, brushing water from his shoulders. He smelled of strong, expensive perfume, the kind Emily never wore. His suit looked perfect, as if he hadn't been caught in the rain at all. "You're late," Emily said softly, trying to keep her voice steady. Daniel barely looked at her. "I had dinner with real people who matter," he said, tossing his keys onto the counter. His eyes slid over the cake with no interest. Emily's heart sank. "It's our anniversary, Dan. I thought we could." "Celebrate what?" he snapped, cutting her off. "You sitting at home wasting my money? You're lucky I haven't left you yet. You're worthless. A burden." The words stung like sharp glass. Emily swallowed hard, forcing herself not to cry in front of him. She set the cake down carefully, as if it might break. "Good night," she whispered, and turned away before he could see her face. Upstairs, as she reached their bedroom, Emily heard Daniel's voice from the hallway below. He was on the phone, speaking in a low, eager tone. "Yeah, the trip is still on," he said. "Don't worry. She's not coming. Just you and me, babe. Can't wait." Emily froze on the stairs, her breath caught in her throat. The trip, the one they had planned together for months, was happening without her. She walked into the bedroom silently, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. Her phone still held the pictures she'd taken earlier of the cake. She'd planned to send them to Daniel as a sweet surprise. With a steady hand, she deleted every one. Then she opened her laptop, the glow lighting her face in the dark room. Logging into their shared bank account, she stared at the numbers on the screen. Her eyes no longer showed tears, only quiet resolve. Before Emily Carter married Daniel, her life looked bright. She had worked as a marketing executive in a busy Atlanta firm. She loved her job, loved solving problems, loved the rush of closing a deal. She had her own car, her own apartment, and money she didn't need to ask anyone for. When she met Daniel, he seemed perfect. He was confident, charming, and made her feel like she was the most important person in the room. In the first years of their marriage, he opened doors for her, left flowers on the table, and whispered promises about building a life together. Emily believed him. She trusted him so much that when he suggested she quit her job to focus on family, she agreed. "You don't need to work," he'd said with a smile. "Let me take care of you." At first, it felt wonderful. They traveled, went to nice restaurants, and talked late into the night about the future. But slowly, things began to change. Daniel started making decisions without her. Where they would live, how they would spend money, who they would spend time with. He tightened control over their finances, giving her household money, instead of letting her see their full bank account. If she ever asked about it, he'd laugh and say, "You wouldn't understand business stuff." Over time, his jokes turned sharper. He mocked her cooking, rolled his eyes when she talked about going back to work, and called her overly sensitive when she protested. In public, Daniel still played the perfect husband, smiling, holding her hand, charming everyone in the room. But at home, his words were cold and cutting. Her family noticed the change in her. Emily's parents questioned why she was always defending Daniel's behavior. When they expressed concern, Daniel twisted the situation, telling Emily they didn't respect her choices. "You have to choose," he said one night after an argument. "Me or them." Emily, desperate to keep her marriage, chose him. Her relationship with her parents faded, and her circle of friends grew smaller until only Mia, her childhood best friend living in another city, remained. Emily often thought about calling Mia to talk, but pride stopped her. She didn't want to admit that the dream life she'd given everything for, the husband, the nice house, the image of success, was cracking apart. Daniel's cruelty wasn't always loud. Sometimes it came in subtle comments at dinner parties. "Emily doesn't really get this stuff, but she tries." He would say it with a laugh, so others thought it was a harmless joke. But Emily felt the sting every time. She learned to keep her pain quiet, but she also learned to keep records. In a private folder on her laptop, she wrote down every insult, every time he locked her out of their bank account, every time he made her feel small. She saved screenshots of emails, took pictures of receipts he left lying around, and carefully hid it all. Emily was no longer the confident woman who once led teams and managed big campaigns. Now she was financially dependent, isolated, and treated like she didn't matter. But beneath the hurt, something was still alive. A small spark that refused to go out. And without Daniel knowing, Emily was starting to prepare for the day she might need it. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. Emily was folding laundry in the bedroom when a small slip of paper fell out of Daniel's jacket pocket. She picked it up, expecting it to be nothing important. But her breath caught when she saw what it was. A receipt from an expensive jewelry store. It was dated 2 weeks ago. The item, a diamond bracelet worth thousands of dollars. And at the bottom, written in neat handwriting, were 3 words that made her knees weaken. For my forever. Emily stared at the receipt, her hands shaking. He had never given her a bracelet like that. Not for their anniversary, not for her birthday, not ever. That night, when Daniel came home, Emily waited until after dinner. Her heart pounded so loudly, she could barely hear her own voice. Dan, she said carefully, I found a receipt in your jacket today. For a diamond bracelet. Daniel looked up from his phone, smirking. Oh, that. It's for a client's wife. Just a gift to keep business running smoothly. Emily's throat went dry. With a note that says for my forever? He laughed, not kindly but sharply. Are you serious right now? You're digging through my things like some jealous teenager? He leaned closer, his eyes hard. And even if it wasn't for a client, what could you do about it? You've got nothing without me. No job. No money. No one to run to. The words sliced deeper than ever before. Emily didn't reply. She didn't trust her voice not to crack. That night in bed, she lay stiff beside him, listening to his steady breathing as he drifted to sleep without a care. Her own heart pounded so fast it hurt. She stared at the ceiling, replaying his words again and again. You've got nothing without me. Slowly, she slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him, and opened her laptop on the dresser. The screen glowed softly in the dark room. She logged into their joint bank account, her fingers trembling. For years she had obeyed, taken only the money Daniel handed her, never asked questions. But years ago, before she quit her job, she'd opened a small savings account, just in case. She hadn't touched it in a long time. Tonight, she began to move small amounts from their joint account, little transfers that wouldn't draw attention. $50 here. 100 there. It wasn't much, but it was a start. With each click of the mouse, Emily felt something inside her shift. Fear was still there, but it was joined by something stronger. A quiet resolve. A voice whispering that she wasn't as powerless as Daniel thought. She didn't know exactly what she was planning yet, but she knew one thing for certain. The man sleeping beside her had just pushed her past her breaking point, and for the first time in years, Emily Carter was going to fight back. Emily knew she couldn't rely on guesses anymore. The receipt for the bracelet was proof enough that Daniel was hiding something, but she needed more. Quietly, without telling anyone, she hired a private investigator recommended by an old neighbor. The man promised discretion and didn't ask too many questions. Within days, the investigator sent her photos. Daniel wasn't staying late at work. He was meeting a woman named Vanessa. They had been seeing each other for almost a year. The business trip Daniel had planned for next week? It was actually a week-long getaway to the Bahamas, not with Emily but with Vanessa. Emily stared at the pictures for a long time. There was Daniel, smiling like he used to with her, holding Vanessa's hand, opening doors for her, kissing her cheek. A deep ache spread through Emily's chest. She remembered all the things she'd given up for this man. Her job, her car, her friends, even her relationship with her parents. She had moved cities just to be closer to his work. And now he was spending his love and money on someone else. For a few hours, Emily cried alone in her room. But when the tears dried, something stronger replaced them. She wasn't going to let Daniel destroy her life completely. Not anymore. Emily started gathering everything she could find. Bank statements, mortgage papers, investment records, and any evidence of Daniel's cheating. She kept copies on a flash drive hidden deep inside a box of old baking supplies Daniel never touched. She photographed every receipt she found in his pockets and kept a written record of his insults, his spending, his late nights. Daniel must have sensed something had changed. He grew colder than ever. One morning, when Emily tried to buy groceries, her card was declined. "Oh, I must have forgotten to move money into that account," Daniel said casually, without even looking up from his phone. The next week, she found herself locked out of several online accounts she used to access bills. When she asked him about it, he smirked. "Maybe I just don't trust you not to mess things up." Emily didn't fight him. She smiled, nodded, and pretended to be grateful for every dollar he gave her. He thought he was tightening his control, but she was already 3 steps ahead. Every time he starved her of money, it only pushed her to transfer more, slowly, carefully, into her secret account. At night, while Daniel slept peacefully beside her, Emily stared at the ceiling, remembering the woman she used to be. She thought of the office where she used to work, the car she used to drive, the friends she used to laugh with. Daniel had made her believe she was nothing without him. But the more he tried to crush her, the more she remembered that wasn't true. When she looked at herself in the mirror now, she no longer saw just a wife waiting for her husband to love her again. She saw someone planning, someone stronger than she'd ever been. Daniel still believed she was weak, but Emily knew the truth, and soon he would too. The night before Daniel's business trip, Emily waited until he was in the shower to begin. His suitcase sat open on the bed, and she packed it neatly, just as any loving wife would. Shirts pressed, socks paired, everything folded with care. But in the side pocket, she slipped an envelope. Inside it were printed photos of Daniel and Vanessa from the private investigator, laughing over dinner, kissing outside a hotel. On top of the photos, she placed the receipt for the diamond bracelet with the words "For my forever." By the time Daniel came out of the shower, she was sitting calmly on the edge of the bed, smiling as if nothing were wrong. "I packed everything you need," she said sweetly. He barely looked at her, just muttered, "Good," and went to bed. When his breathing grew deep and steady, Emily quietly got up. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat, but her hands didn't shake. Not tonight. She opened her laptop and went to work. First, she logged into Daniel's travel account and canceled every reservation. The flights to the Bahamas luxury hotel, even the car rental. The money refunded instantly to their joint bank account. Almost $20,000 returned in seconds. Next, she logged into their bank. In one swift motion, she transferred everything, every last cent, nearly $180,000, into her hidden savings account, the one Daniel didn't know existed. When it was done, she closed the laptop and looked around the room. This house, once her dream, now felt like a cage. But tonight the lock was breaking. Emily packed her own small bag with only essentials: clothes, important documents, the flash drive full of evidence, and the letter she had written days earlier. Before leaving, she placed that letter on Daniel's pillow. Just one line in neat handwriting. "You said I was worthless. Now I'm free, and so is my life." At dawn, Daniel woke up to silence. Emily's side of the bed was empty. At first, he didn't notice anything wrong. He showered, got dressed, and grabbed his suitcase. Then he saw the envelope. Curious, he opened it, and froze. The photos of him and Vanessa stared back, along with the bracelet receipt. His face went pale. He rushed to his phone, trying to call Vanessa, but the call wouldn't go through. Then he opened his email and found every booking for their trip had been canceled. Panic rising, he logged into the bank account, and his stomach dropped. The balance read 0. "Emily," he shouted, storming through the house. But she was gone. No car in the driveway. No suitcase by the door. Just the letter on the pillow, mocking him with its quiet calm. For the first time, Daniel felt what Emily had lived with for years: helplessness. He tore through drawers, searching for cash, for anything, but she had taken everything that belonged to her, and some of what belonged to him. By the time he realized she had truly left, Emily was already hours away, driving toward Mia's house in another city. The sun was rising, the road was empty, and for the first time in years, Emily felt the air in her lungs taste like freedom. Emily drove straight to Mia's house, a small brick home 2 hours away. When Mia opened the door and saw her standing there with red eyes and a single suitcase, she didn't ask many questions. She just hugged her and said, "You're safe now." For the first few days, Emily slept more than she talked. The years of stress and fear seemed to pour out of her all at once. But slowly, she began to feel like herself again. She remembered she wasn't just a wife Daniel could insult. She was smart, capable, and strong. Using her old contacts from her marketing days, Emily applied for remote consulting work. Within weeks, she landed a contract helping a small company with their advertising. The first time the payment hit her personal account, she almost cried. It was her own money, earned by her own skills. With Mia's help, Emily met a good divorce lawyer. She brought a folder full of evidence: photos of Daniel with Vanessa, bank records showing his spending, copies of his cruel messages. The lawyer nodded approvingly. "He's not going to see this coming," she said. When mediation came, Daniel walked in acting confident, like he always did. He tried to charm the mediator, tried to paint Emily as an ungrateful wife who never worked a day in her life. But the evidence spoke louder than his words. When the photos of Vanessa and the bracelet receipt came out, his face turned red. Daniel's arrogance worked against him. He refused to settle fairly, thinking Emily would back down. But the court saw the truth. Emily walked away with a significant settlement, and her freedom legally secured. After the divorce, Emily didn't stop there. She started therapy to heal from years of emotional abuse. At first it was painful, remembering all the moments she had been silenced, all the times she believed Daniel's lies about her being worthless. But week by week, she learned to see herself clearly again. She also reached out to her parents. The first phone call was awkward and full of tears, but her mother's voice was warm. "We never stopped loving you, Emily. We just wanted you to be happy." Slowly, Emily rebuilt that bond, visiting them on weekends and letting them see the daughter they thought they had lost. Using her settlement money and her growing confidence, Emily started a small online business. It wasn't huge at first, just marketing advice for small companies, but it was hers. Every decision was hers. Every dollar earned was proof that she could stand on her own. For the first time in years, Emily woke up without fear. No more waiting for slammed doors or cruel words. No more wondering if she was enough. She had taken back her life, piece by piece, and she was never going to give it away again. Emily sat on a quiet beach, the waves rolling in and out in a soft rhythm. The sun was warm but gentle, and the salty breeze carried the sound of seagulls in the distance. Her laptop rested on her knees as she typed out an email to a new client. Work no longer felt like a burden. It felt alive, hers. Every project she finished, every payment she received, reminded her that she could stand on her own. She didn't need anyone to tell her she had value. She already knew it. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Mia. Just 2 simple words: "Proud of you." Emily smiled, a real, deep smile that reached her eyes. She closed her laptop and let the breeze wash over her face, lifting her hair. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel heavy. It felt open, like the horizon stretching out before her. In her heart, she spoke words she would never forget. "The day he told me I was worthless was the day I found out I was priceless." Emily stood up, letting the waves touch her feet, and breathed in the wide, free air. She wasn't the woman Daniel could control anymore. She was stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever came next. Fade out. Hi friends. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world. See you next time.